Good morning, media literacy, or good afternoon, depending upon when you drag yourself out of bed to watch this video lesson. There is a big lesson today, so I am going to do it in two parts, and you're going to have 2 days to do it. Maybe today you watch this Edpuzzle and complete the questions, and then tomorrow you actually do the assignment. Or maybe you just bang it all out today and you don't have to do anything for my class tomorrow. Or you procrastinate, wait till the last minute, do it tomorrow. No big deal. Either way, you have 2 days to do this. So this week we're going to start talking about fake news. We have been hearing this for several years now, loudly in our country, fake news. So let's talk about what exactly that means and what exactly it's perceived to be. So, why all this talk about fake news? One big reason we kept hearing about fake news over the past few years is because President Trump was always talking about it. It's kind of hard not to hear something when one of the most powerful people in the world is talking about it. So I actually took a picture of this, but if you search fake news Donald Trump tweet, you are going to come across so many screenshots of him talking about fake news. Okay, the fake news media, failing New York Times, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people. Until November 4th, fake news is going to something COVID. We are rounding the turn. Is this the same fake news media that said there was no path to victory for Trump? Now that is pushing the phony Russia story, a total scam. Okay, and I mean, some of these, like, I can't even remember what he's talking about, some of these. But he constantly used this term. So we heard it all the time. Which begs the question of why would he want us so badly to think all of the news was fake, but, we'll cross that bridge later. Okay, so, trying to go back here. So that's one reason that we keep hearing about fake news. And this, take a look at this cartoon. So these two people are on their separate electronic devices, and this lady is saying, how do you know if a news story is true? And the guy on his phone is saying, if I agree with it. So this brings up, political cartoons actually usually have very serious topics, but they present them in a funny way. And what they're showing here is confirmation bias, which we talked about last week in depth. Okay? We are more likely to believe something that we agree with and less likely to believe it if we don't agree with it. So a lot of people just judge whether or not something is real by whether or not they want it to be real or fake. "28% of Americans consider reports that accurately cast a politician in a negative light to be fake news." So it's interesting to me that this is a statistic from 2 years ago now, 3 actually. But it shows that there are a lot of people out there who think that if you're saying something negative about a political candidate that they like, that you're just lying. You're just trying to make that person look bad. So that causes a little bit of an issue when the media tries to bring forth something that is actually true, but casts somebody in a negative light. And vice versa. All right. So not all news is good news. I want you to stop this Edpuzzle right now, and I want you to go into your slideshow, and I want you to answer this prompt. What is news, and why is it so important for people to have an understanding of that definition? Okay, what is news? So I want you to think about that, and I don't want you to worry about being right or wrong right now. I just want you to think, okay, what is news? Why is it important for people to understand what news is? Type your answer here. Go. All right, so news. We talked all about journalism and yellow journalism and yada, yada, yada. And we talked about the history of literacy. So we know that what we see in the news is not always accurate for many reasons. I want you to now think about this question. Wow, I need to fix that typo. Should schools teach students how to find news and distinguish reliable news from fake news? So classes like this, okay, should all schools do that? Teach students how to find out what is fake from what is real and be able to work with that information. So stop the Edpuzzle now, go to your slide, and answer here. For real, stop the Edpuzzle, go back, answer. And finally, what are the most important things that you think students need to know about the news? So again, for these 3 slides, you may not have all the right and wrong answers. I know some of you are perfectionists and you're like, I don't want to type anything at all if it makes me look like I don't know. I'm asking you these questions before we have some major discussions here. I just want you to start with what you already know, okay? So when you think about news or any information that we find on the internet, what do you think are the most important things students need to know? Or anybody, even adults. So pause this Edpuzzle, go to your slideshow, and answer here. So our objectives for this unit. 1, I can distinguish real news from fake news. My hope for you is that by the time you are done with this class, you have an idea of how to honestly determine, in spite of your confirmation bias, what is fact and what is fiction. I can explain to others how to detect the differences between what is and is not factual on the internet and in the news. Okay, now, I want you to be able to spread the word because a lot of people don't know how to determine fact from fiction on the internet, and they will continue to spread fiction. I want you to be bold and tell that person on Facebook that that article that they shared is not real, because it's taking all of us, okay? It's important that we all make sure that the world has accurate information, because we base our decisions, we base very emotional decisions sometimes on what we see on the internet. So we don't want to get some fake news information that makes us like go off the deep end and have some big like crisis in our minds if that information isn't even true. Okay? So we see, a lot of different opinions out there on the internet, but just because it's somebody's opinion doesn't make it true. This also might lose you some friends on Facebook. Not gonna lie. Okay, sometimes people get upset when you point out that their information is inaccurate. But one of the things I hope that we can learn to do as a people is to be able to say, okay, oops, I was wrong. And I'm glad I was corrected so that I could have accurate information. That's a really hard thing to do. We all hate admitting when we're wrong, as we talked about with confirmation bias. And I can create a plan to help others understand what is and is not reliable information. So you'll create a plan, to say, okay, this is what I would do to teach other people about fake news and hoaxes on the internet. So you're going to look at several examples today. You may have seen some of these before. I don't know. But some of these things, all of these things, have been forwarded on social media. And didn't start on social media, but you see them get like shared all the time. So here's the first one. This one is from 2015. It says the source is Crime Statistics Bureau of San Francisco. And I want you to look at all the images and all the text here. So we have an African-American man here. He looks like he's a younger man. He's holding a gun. He's covering his face. Okay, it looks very, very scary. And these are the statistics that are given to us on this poster. Blacks killed by whites, 2%. Blacks killed by police, 1%. Whites killed by police, 3%. Whites killed by whites, 16%. Whites killed by blacks, 81%. And blacks killed by blacks, 97%. So when you look at this image, first of all, what claim do you think is being made? Like what claim, I mean, what do they want us to believe? Whoever created this poster, what do they want us to believe? So I want you to stop the Edpuzzle. I want you to go into here and I want you to really, really look at this and think about it. Yes, there are some numbers here. We'll get to that in a minute. And over in the box, man, it keeps going doing that to me. Whenever I click on the box in presentation mode, it like takes me to the next page. Click on the box, type your answer here. Okay, before you know anything else, just look at the image, look at the words. What does the creator want us to think, whether it's true or not? So now that you've typed your answer to that, I want you to click this link to see facts about blacks killed by whites image. So you're going to click this link here, this guy, and it takes you to the Portland State University website. So we know that this website is created by an educational institution, a college, and it is on their library homepage. See how it says library? And it says that it is about identifying and challenging disinformation or fake news. And this is one of the examples that it gives to teach college students about fake news. So we look here and we see it tells us that this example was tweeted by Donald Trump during the 2016 presidential campaign. It was tweeted by a lot of people, okay, not just him. Fact-checking site PolitiFact, we'll talk about those fact-checking sites later, but PolitiFact is a very, very good one to use, posted an analysis of these statistics and rated it pants on fire. So PolitiFact is a fact-checking website, and what they do is they have this scale where it's a truth meter. It's like if they're in the green, it's like really, really true, and if it's in the yellow, it's partially true, it's kind of been embellished, or if it's red, it's completely false, and if it's really, really false, they rate it pants on fire, like liar, liar, pants on fire. So that's why it's called that. So they have an analysis here. This is PolitiFact's analysis. 1, the gentleman here, it says, 1, the image is meant to provoke fear and feeds a racist narrative of violent young black men. So they've chosen a picture of somebody who looks like he might hurt you, obviously, because he's pointing a gun, okay? It's not a nice, respectable looking young man with a suit and tie on. He looks like he wants to kill you. 2, right here, the statistics. Statistics do not account for the much smaller proportion of Black Americans versus the overall population. If the proportion is taken into account, Black Americans are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than whites. So this is telling us there are obviously way, way, way more white people than there are Black people in the United States. So if you look proportionally, it changes how the numbers have meaning. 3, right here. Right here. Statistics available for 2015 from the FBI, that's the Federal Bureau of Investigation, demonstrate that these numbers have been reversed. Approximately 81% of whites were killed by whites. Approximately 16% of whites were killed by blacks. So these two numbers here have purposely been reversed. And 4, and this is what I think is really interesting here, there is no such entity as the Crime Statistics Bureau. It doesn't even exist. Somebody completely made this up. Okay? The creators of this graphic co-opted the visual indicator of an authoritative source in order to mislead their audience. So in other words, they made up this whole bureau because they wanted to look real. If something is, backed by a bureau, then you're like, oh, well, that must be true because this bureau released these statistics. That's completely made up. Doesn't even exist. Okay? So I want you to go ahead and go back to the assignment here now. And I want you to summarize what the article says about this image. And if you would like to even add your own feelings and attitude about that source and the facts, then you go ahead and do that. So stop your computer, do that now. Stop the video. Don't stop your computer. All right, here's a little more recent one. This is our now president, Joe Biden. This was going around the internet during, I think, the summer. Okay, it was one of the election memes. So it has Joe Biden here. It says, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, one nation, indivisible, under God, for real. Attributes that quote to Joe Biden. And they say, don't worry, Joe. Most of your supporters don't know it either. So when you look at this image and the words on it, what claim is being made? Okay? In other words, what do they want us to believe? Whoever made this meme, what do they want us to believe about Joe Biden and about anybody who would support him or vote for him? Stop the video and go answer the question now. All right, so now that you've thought about that, I have a PolitiFact article here with more information on this meme. So we're going to take a look at that, and after we've looked at that, I want you to summarize what you learned from the PolitiFact article. So here we go. Okay, so PolitiFact is a nonpartisan. Okay, that means they are not affiliated with either party or any party. Not Democrats, not Republicans, not Libertarians, not Socialists, not anybody. And their whole sole goal here is to find out what's factual and what is not. So this one they said is a tweet. Originally it was a tweet. It was from September 21st. Joe Biden completely botches the Pledge of Allegiance. So it tells us, it says, if your time is short. So this is a brief version, and then they have a longer version of their answer. So it says, no, Biden didn't botch the pledge. Tells us over here that it's false. So a tweet mischaracterizes a clip of a speech Joe Biden gave in Wisconsin on September 21. In the speech, Biden criticized President Donald Trump for favoring Republican states over Democratic states and said, I don't pledge allegiance to red states of America or blue states of America. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, one nation, indivisible, under God. For real, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm not going to govern as a Democratic president. I'm going to govern as president. He didn't recite the pledge. So in other words, this was part of a larger paragraph where he was trying to say, as all politicians are going to say when they're running for something to get your vote, I will support and take care of all of you, whether you voted for me or not, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I'm going to be your president, no matter who you voted for. So he's alluding to the Pledge of Allegiance here, and he's partially reciting it, but this meme that we just looked at tries to make it look like he is a total bumbling idiot who was reciting the Pledge of Allegiance and didn't actually know the words. Okay? So if you want to know more, you can also look at their sources. Okay? They always give their sources, and I think that that's really, really, really important, because they are telling you where they got their information from. So if you don't trust PolitiFact's information, then you can just go see where they got their information from and keep researching from there. Okay? All right, so back to this guy. So you're going to type, summarize what you learned there. And the last one is also from this last year. It has a picture of this guy here who we're going to assume is a scientist. And it says he's a Nobel Prize winner. Okay, and the Nobel Prize is a really, really important, prestigious prize you get for being like one of the best in your field in the entire world. So it says, Nobel Prize winner, COVID-19 is man-made. Is he right? So this is implying that that dude here is a Nobel Prize winner and that he says that COVID-19 is man-made. So when you look at this image, what claim is it making? What does the creator want us to believe? Stop your video, go to the slide, type your answer. Okay, so fact or fiction? That's our question here. Is this fact or fiction? So Snopes.com is one of the original fact checkers. I can remember all the way back to like my college years, I think. I may be wrong here. It was at least when I first started teaching, and I am so old, you guys. I've been doing this for like 24 years, okay? But Snopes was one of the very first fact-checking sources on the internet. And so we're going to look at Snopes and see what they have to say about the COVID scientist thing. And when we're done looking at that, you're going to pause the video and you're going to summarize what it says right here in this box. All right, so again, a nice thing about Snopes, same as with PolitiFact, is that, well, the not nice thing is that it has a lot of extra ads that we don't want or need. Sorry, guys. But they've got to run their business too, right? So it will give you an article and it will also give you, wow, this one's really long, you guys. It also gives you sources for all of their stuff at the bottom, okay? So their sources are like Live Science Magazine, Science Magazine, Nature Magazine themselves, which is weird. They must have referenced another article. News sources. I mean, they have a list a mile long here of their sources just to write this article. But let's just look at the quick version, okay? So what they'll do is they'll put the main claim at the top here. Did this Nobel Prize winner say COVID-19 was created in a lab? Keep in mind, the opinion of one person does not outweigh the consensus of the scientific community. So what that means is that they're saying most of the scientific community, like a huge majority of the scientific community, says one thing, but this dude here disagrees with them. All right? So even not all scientists are going to agree. This was published in April of 2020. There he is. So the claim is 2008 Nobel Prize winner Luc Montagnier, I think is how that's said that COVID-19 coronavirus disease was artificially created in a lab by biologists working on an AIDS vaccine. So their rating is that this is a correct attribution. That means he really did say this, and he really is a Nobel Prize winner. Okay, so we could stop there and be like, okay, well, it's true then. It was created in a lab because this dude said it was. Don't be so quick, okay? You have to continue moving along. I wish I could make this ad disappear, you guys. I'm afraid that if I click it, it's just going to make it bigger. OMG. Okay. So, origin as governments fight. Snopes is trying to fight the infodemic. Okay, so they're going in here saying we're trying to make sure everybody has accurate information. So this tells us, since the outset of the COVID-19 coronavirus disease pandemic, we've fielded a number of questions about the origins of this strain of coronavirus. While the general consensus of the scientific community is that COVID-19 evolved naturally, meaning it came up on its own. It just popped up out of nature, meaning nobody synthetically created it in a lab. There have been some outliers who proposed other theories about the disease's origins. So an outlier is somebody who's like, they do not agree with what most people agree with. Okay? They're out on the fringe. Luc Montagnier, for instance, a French virologist, somebody who studies viruses, who won the Nobel Prize in 2008 for his discovery of HIV, said during an appearance on France CNews that COVID-19 was not natural and suggested that this disease actually resulted from work done by molecular biologists who were attempting to create an AIDS vaccine. Okay, so he was suggesting that perhaps it was created by, I guess, kind of by accident. Okay. So here's what he said. We came to the conclusion that there was a manipulation around this virus, 2 apart, but I do not say the total, of the coronavirus of the bat. Someone added sequences, in particular of HIV, the virus of AIDS. It is not natural. It is the work of professionals of molecular biologists, a very meticulous work. So then they have a video of him saying this stuff, okay, and this is really, really long. So I'm kind of skimming here. And it tells a lot of like super duper scientific information, okay, but I'm just going to kind of sum up the gist of it here for you because it's really long, and I know this video's gotten too long already, this Edpuzzle. What they want you to understand here is that most of the scientific community disagrees with this dude, okay? No matter who he is, no matter what he's accomplished, and no matter what he said on a news interview, most of the scientific community disagrees with him. So you need to keep in mind, that just because one person in a field of study says something doesn't necessarily make it 100% accurate. You need to weigh whether you want to believe the outlier or you want to believe the consensus. Do you want to believe the one person who's saying what almost nobody else is saying? Or do you want to believe what almost all of the other people who are experts in the field hold to be true? If that makes sense. I hope it does. So you're going to go back here and you're going to write down what you learned from that article. So to get things short here, I know, this is why this lesson is 2 days long. You're going to take 1 whole day for this stupid Edpuzzle, right? And then you're going to go and you're going to do the other assignment. So don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. Abraham Lincoln. Chew on that. Do you think he really said that? I mean, because there's no internet in the 1860s. Just saying. So the final discussion questions, answer these and you are finished. What happens when fake news spreads? Type your response here. And what actions can you take to verify news stories, photographs, and other sources of online information? So these are things we're going to learn more about. I'm kind of asking you some questions ahead of the lessons, but I want to know what you already know, okay? What do you think happens when fake news spreads based on what you've already learned? And what do you think you can do as a person in this world to stop the spread of fake news, or at least help slow it? Okay? And you're done. If you have any questions, please let me know. Email, text, call, and have a lovely rest of your day.